You can't overlook a bad pump. You can't.
It's so true.
And I encourage you not to overlook a bad pump. I think you should look straight at it and get rid of it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Goodbye, a new podcast from Harper's BAZAAR, where we invite celebrities, designers, models, and tastemakers to talk shop, what they buy, where they got it, and why it matters. Hi, I'm Lynette Nylander.
And I am Leah Chernikoff, and this is Harper's BAZAAR's The Goodbye. Would you like to tell me about your goodbye this week, Lynette?
Oh, God. When is there
Is
not
it
a
goodbyes, plural? With you, it usually is.
It is goodbyes, plural. It is. Okay. Actually, I have really been suffering from a couple of months of bad sleep.
Okay.
I have been rolling over to my front. It's not great. So I am on the lookout for a new bed.
Okay.
And I always find that around
Mattress frame, the whole deal?
I think it's time to upgrade the whole thing. I think I came to New York and I have had the same bed since I moved here 7 years ago. And it's time to get my big girl bed on.
Big girl bed. I want that for you. This is like one of the hardest things to find. Like, tell me about your process.
Well, I research a lot I research and I read a lot of reviews and I try and find out what other people like. So I went over to Google and I searched best bed frame, and I like the Thuma one because you're able to put it together with no tools, and I'm not very dexterous, and I am bad at putting together even the most simple of IKEA furniture, and so this one seemed like a sure bet.
And I'm sure it's very chic.
It is chic. I chose a deep walnut color, and I made the big girl jump from a queen to a king bed. So I'm very excited.
I'm excited for you.
I'm going to set it off with some brand new sheets, and it's going to be a cozy fall/winter in my brand new bed.
Do you want to know my theory of like one of the things as you get older is like, you know, we all think about putting together our outfits, but like how you put together your bed is like one of the sort of like level up of grown up fashion, kind of like thinking about like the mattress, the size of it, the frame, the pillows, the sheets, the like all the layers, getting it all together is like, yeah.
I think about that episode of Sex and the City where Miranda's changing her bed sheets and hoping that it brings a better bed karma. I feel like that is like something that we don't talk about, but it's true. You gotta level up. You've gotta dress your bed for the life you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so Leah, what is your goodbye of the week?
Okay, well, listen, I haven't purchased yet, which is also very classic me in relation to you. You know, I'm very nervous to like hit buy, but you know, I love to like add to cart and search and search and search. So I'm on the hunt for the perfect gray crew neck. You know, our fearless leader, Samira Nasser, Harper's BAZAAR's editor-in-chief, she talked about in her newsletter this like gray crew neck from Phoebe Philo that she was wearing all over Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah, it's a good swell.
Listen, I don't have Phoebe Philo money. That's not where I'm going. So I'm going to Google and I'm doing like if you say shop gray crew neck, like it's going to give you like a much better sort of selection of results, and you can also see like sales and sort of like track prices. So, you know, I'm like a watcher. So I'm sort of looking at like the ones that I like the most, but also seeing like, is the price going to move a little bit? You know, because sales are starting to happen, but then sometimes like prices like inch up before they drop down. So I'm courting all these things.
And what one have you found is a contender?
Okay, well, I'm watching a men's gray cashmere crew neck from J. Crew. I did almost buy one at the Row sample sale, and you probably would have told me to do it.
I mean, you know, we love a sample sale, but we also love conscious spending. So that's, you know, and also J. Crew has incredible quality cashmere, so.
Yeah. So that, and then Uniqlo is like pops up. But I'm looking men's, like, because I think I will like the way that, like, the weight I think is really important, and the neck, and then also just the boxiness. I want it to feel a bit oversized. This week, we have an American fashion icon, one whose impact can still be felt today, tomorrow, going forward.
He is a designer, a cabaret star, a TV personality, an oracle of all things fashion.
I am. and more.
And lately, you can see him on TikTok, where he is giving a peek into his collections of everything from Belgian loafers to kitchen cookware to handbags. So we can think of no one else we would rather talk fashion and personal style with.
Welcome to the Goodbye, Isaac Mizrahi.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so
Really
much for
happy
being
to
here.
help in any way I can.
Okay, so then let's jump in. Isaac, you have been part of you've been part of the fashion industry almost since the day you were born.
This is so true.
You
This
grew
is so
up
true. Yes, I did.
making costumes for puppets. I
Right,
was
this
reading.
is true. And then making clothes. And then I went to Performing Arts High School as an actor when I was 13 or 14, however age you are. And then when I graduated there, I was just afraid. I was very afraid. Show business is such a scary business, right? And so I kind of diverted and went into fashion because I was already making clothes and sketching and things. And so I went to Parsons instead. And then I just went directly from Parsons to Perry Ellis. And then I had a few jobs. And then I opened my own company in 1986. It's a long time ago. 86. Had my first show in 87.
And what are some of your memories from that first show?
Some of my memories from that first. You know what's funny? It's like I don't remember anything about the actual show because I was so focused on the details of what was going on. And in those days, it was literally, I'm not kidding, the loft that the show was in was so small. It wasn't a grand, but I had 15 or 18 models, and we were jammed into the tiniest little space while they were changing. And the thing is, what people don't understand about the old days is you would have girls changing into 7 or 8 different outfits in the course of a fashion show, and with no lags. Like you had to have someone on the runway at all times, as opposed to today, where if you have 70 looks, you have 70 girls.
Right.
Yeah. But Naomi Campbell and Linda, and I used to drive these girls crazy because they would wear 7 or 8 things. So that's what I remember about those shows. Also, there were no producers. It was just us, like me with a list and a list of when the music was supposed to change. And me, I was the head stylist, There were no stylists in those days.
everything.
That did shows. Yeah. Did everything.
I wanted to ask, because I know you went to LaGuardia and you were mentioning
did.
high school, which I'm always obsessed with because I'm obsessed with Fame, and I know
Of course you
were
were.
in it.
I am in it. This is so true.
So I had to
did not know
rewatch
this.
to find you. But I wanted to ask what your style was then, and sort of what informed it, and then kind of the inspirations that led you to your first collection.
I mean, so that's a really good question because you were asking about what was a big inspiration for me at Performing Arts High School, like style-wise, even as an actor, because as actors, we were also conscious of fashion and conscious of the zeitgeist and what was going on. And in those days, it was like the birth of this kind of, we didn't call it vintage in those days. We called it like, what was it? Used or something. Thrifting, darling.
Thrifting.
Lynette, it was called thrifting, okay? And it was so cool. And you would buy these crazy old things that didn't fit, that had holes in them, that were so chic, that were faded and gorgeous, really gorgeous. And we got into it. And that's what really affected me. And then slowly but surely I got into the fashion business myself, and I understood about couture. And I mean, darling, we went to classes at the Met once a week, and we got to look at those clothes with gloves on. We got to
Wow.
see those clothes and fabrics, right? We were taught how to tell the difference, how to tell blends or something. We would do the burn test, and they would light little swatches of fabric, and we would smell the fabric and understand the smell of wool versus
Wow.
what silk smelled like versus what burning cotton smelled like. It was crazy, the burn test. Ask anyone in my grade.
Smell test.
Ask Mark Jacobs about the burn test, okay? He will know about the burn test. But anyway, the point is that we knew all that, and yet, what we adored was this idea of kind of hunkering in, if you would pay $20,000 to have a suit made on Savile Row because you understood that you would have that suit forever, I mean, of course, none of those suits fit me now, but I
I
have
was
like
just going to
50
say,
of them.
providing you never change your body
No,
size.
but you know, if you're Manolo Blahnik, right? We used to worship Manolo because he was wearing these gorgeous old suits that he had made when he was 20 years old on Savile Row. And so to me, what is so scary about the world now, forget about fast fashion. That is the scariest thing I ever heard of my life. You know, what's so scary now is even, you know, like expensive clothes. You're supposed to be in and out of those and you're donating them the next day. You wear them once and you give them away, or you wear them once and you sell them on Vestiaire or something. You know, I don't know, darlings. I don't know. And that's like, I have like my favorite person in the world, which is Carrie Bradshaw. Like it's maybe a little her fault, you know? Maybe it's a little Gilmore Girls because they never wore the same thing twice. You know what I mean? It's like the people that we loved so much, it kind of, people took it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like it was,
Well, and Instagram.
and Instagram.
And I'm
You know,
so
not wanting to show
Yes.
up on your feed in the same outfit.
Right.
Totally.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad we're talking about this because on your social media, you are such an arbiter of all the things you've had for years, and you talk everyone through your collections, whether it be, you know, we were just before the podcast, we were going through your TikTok and looking at your Italian cookware that you, or your,
Yes.
is it Italian? It was,
It was
Some of
Elsa
it is.
Peretti.
some of it was
Some.
Elsa
Oh, Elsa
Peretti.
Peretti. Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
had
yeah.
a
Well,
beautiful,
for instance, yeah.
beautiful
Or-
Tiffany bowl, or your loafers, or
Yes.
your wardrobe. You go into detail, and you've bought well, and you've kept it well.
Right. And again, going back to the Savile Row thing, and a tweed suit isn't a tweed suit until it is rained upon several times. And, you know, you get a
love that.
splash from a lorry that you're walking by and whatever, German
Has
Street.
to be a lorry.
It has to be. No, seriously, you know what I mean?
That's for Lynette.
It's not great until you've had it for
Yeah.
a minute, you know? And it's like those collectors that inspired me, those incredibly stylish women who I looked at, like Tina Chow and Lulu de la Falaise, like they understood that they bought things they loved and then wore them, you know? They did. They just had that ethic about them. It was just a different thing. And they wore them a few times. I remember this incredible friend of mine, Jackie Spaniel, who later became an editor at Vogue for a minute, or for longer than a minute. And she's so talented. Anyway, and she bought this one Chanel jacket in like 1987 or something, right? When no one could afford anything. We could not afford this stuff, right? But she went to Chanel and she bought that jacket because she was so obsessed with it, right? And she wore it literally every single day for like 3 years. And we would worship that. That's what I love, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's normalize wearing your clothes, living your life in your clothes. Like, I'm at awe of all of that kind of like, you know, when you see people's closets and they look like a store and it looks
Yes.
like they have stuff, consumption.
Oh, I
and
don't
stuff,
understand
and
it.
they don't
Me
wear
either.
it.
No,
Go
I
out
can't.
and live
it's
your
all,
life.
I know exactly, and it's all curated. It's not exactly. It's not even. It's more like an archive than it is an actual closet.
Yeah.
You know. Yes. And by the way, I have archives too, but I don't call it my closet. I call it
Your
an archive.
archive.
Yeah. Exactly.
How would you describe your own personal style? Because, you know, you've spent
Boring,
years.
extremely boring, and because I don't really, and you know, it's so funny. Like this morning, I'm wearing a stripe because I can't with anymore. It's just black. I had to have a little relief in today, so I wore a stripe.
Well, tell us, I mean, why you I'm so intrigued. Designers often tend to have these uniforms. So
Yeah.
I'd love to know how you arrived at yours and basically what it enables you to do. Like, how does it make you feel so that you can do the job you need to do?
I mean, a lot of the reason is because, I mean, even though I'm such a big personality and I'm so much a subject of my own life, for some reason, after all these years of working with all these other people who I'm dressing, right? Or, you know, even if I'm acting in something, you know, it's best to be very neutral, you know? And also, I was a very fat kid and I always had a sort of body issue. So the more dark colors I wear, the thinner I feel like I look. And it's not untrue. You know, it's like all of a sudden you go crazy one day and you decide to wear like beige and white and like winter white or something. And you pass a window and you go like, what was I thinking? I look like a float in a parade, you know? And that's terrible. Like we should not be feeling that way about ourselves anymore. But, you know, it's like I understand this whole body positivity thing. I do. It's incredible. I only hope it has traction. I only hope it does well for some people because for me, it has not done too well, you know? So that's one of the reasons I wear dark colors all the time, black, navy, charcoal gray. That's really one of the reasons, but also just because it's simple and it works. And especially if you travel a lot, you throw like, you know, 4 polo shirts in a valise and you're finished,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 pairs of trousers and, some knickers. I don't know why
I
I'm
love
saying.
the
I don't know why I'm
British.
just.
I know.
I don't know why
I
I'm
love
saying
the
that.
No, bring it on. I love the British.
Knickers,
Britishisms.
She
I feel
feels at
very
home.
at home.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
Well, I just want to ask because we were, doing a little rewatching of some things. You used to wear a bandana all the time.
Yes, I still do every single morning. I
Okay.
wear it to sort of hold my hair down. It just gets bigger and bigger. I take it off as the day progresses, and it just gets bigger and bigger.
So where are they from? Where,
All over.
Tell us
all
the
over,
story of
darling.
them.
I mean,
Okay.
everywhere from 14th Street, when 14th Street was 14th Street,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I got a lot of my favorite bandanas. But I don't know, it's funny. It's like John Derrian or I don't know where, 45 RPM. People that make bandanas.
Yeah.
I am a buyer of bandanas.
Love 45
Yes.
RPM.
I know. I was just.
I know. I
gonna
love
say.
45
Yeah.
RPM, don't you?
Really, really great
And
story.
by the way, their bandanas make your hair look better when you take the bandana. I don't know what it is about what they use that fabric.
use the
I'm
cotton.
serious, or it's like a better
Yeah.
weave or something.
Yeah, well, the
I swear to
cotton
God.
there
And the
is
t-shirts.
Liberty of
fantastic.
London. There is no better bandana in this world that makes your hair look better than a Liberty of London bandana.
You heard it here first. Okay, here on The Goodbye, we love to break down people's shopping, what they've bought. And so the first question in The Goodbye is, what was your first buy? What was the buy that made you feel like you'd made it, that you were someone, or was it something that you'd always coveted?
I have an easy answer, which is it's an agenda from Hermes. And at the time, it was a fortune. It was like 1982 or something. And I was like, no, I will be needing an agenda. And so they make these agendas the way they make those beautiful leather goods, right? And literally, I had it for, so how many years ago is that? 82? Can you do the
It's
math?
42.
42 years ago. So in the
done.
course of 42 years, I have used the same exact agenda format from Hermes, right? Which is it's broken into 2 parts of the year. You have the first 6 months and the second 6 months, and they make the refills, which themselves are like $300. I'm not kidding. And I swear to you, the first one I bought was a fortune. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was something like $1,200, which in 1982 for me was a lot of money.
I think that's a lot of money now.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
agenda,
it was this perfect sort of pigskin thing, like that pigskin with the white stitching. And that lasted for like 15 years. Then I got a black sort of kid one with the same setup. That was $2,000 or $4,000 by then, 15 years later. And then I went out of my mind and I bought a crocodile one about
I
like
love
12
it.
years ago for like, $25,000. I'm not kidding you. It was so expensive because it's crocodile. And I still have it and I still use it, and I can't do my agenda on my phone. I can't do my agenda Google share. I can't do that. I must write it down in this agenda, in this one format. It's crazy. But when I got that, it was a life-changing, because I loved Hermes. I remember the first time I went, when I was about 17 or 18 years old, I went on the Faubourg Saint-Honoré, right, by myself. And I bought my mother this incredible handbag. And there's a post on it on Instagram where I actually got the bag back.
Oh, wow.
Because she's like, kind of infirmed and she'll never use it again. And it's one thing I don't want to disappear, that bag, because it's like this perfect Bugatti thing in pigskin, which with a green interior. But that was a fortune. And, these were things we could not afford.
Yeah.
We were like little crazy people, me and my friends, who were crazy for Hermes in those days. When I was a student at Parsons, School of Design, and one of my best friends in the world is still this person called Peter Spiliopoulos. You may have heard of Peter. He worked a very long time in the fashion business, and now he has a fabulous home collection, and he makes these beautiful pots, these beautiful vases. When we were students, Peter and I, at Parsons, it was a different time, and we had a fashion show at the end of the year, and there were like, the pumps in the model room that were like, oh, we'll show our dress with the pumps. And me and Peter were like, this is not happening.
We cannot have these
We
pumps.
cannot have these pumps.
The Cher
we
pumps.
went to Manolo Blahnik, and we split the cost of this one pair of shoes that were like $800. So we literally had our last $400 each, and we split the cost, and we bought Manolo Blahniks for the model at Parsons. And you know what? Our clothes just looked a lot better than the other clothes, because you can't overlook a bad pump. You can't.
It's so true.
And I encourage you not to overlook a bad pump. I think you should look straight at it and get rid of it,
I love that. And I love your admiration for Manolo Blahnik.
Oh, darling. I love him so much. I mean, he's a friend, and also like the funniest person in the world. And also, a snack. When I was looking at him as this older gentleman, it was a total snack. He was so handsome.
Yeah. And just honestly, of all the kind of luxury shoes out there, Manolo Blahniks are the
Oh, no, there's
most
nothing better.
comfortable. They're
You can't,
incredibly
darling.
made. They're an actual shoe you can last the night in, and so many shoes are not. And
I
they're
know.
fantastic.
When you get the shoe, you will keep the shoe.
Yeah.
You know?
Are there any regrets in your closet? Any
So
outfits you
many
look back
regrets.
on? So many.
You know, I'll tell you what, it's like I do have this crazy kind of psychology about tailored suits. I don't know why, because I rarely wear them. And I have so many of them in a storage space in my closet now. And it's the sickest thing in the world. You know, my weight fluctuates a lot, as I said earlier. I have this crazy body image. So I really regret, I don't know why I have those suits made. I don't know why I feel it's necessary for people to have suits that they don't wear. So I regret, like, I would say 80% of the suits I've ever had made.
Why did you get them made? Like, was it a psychology thing? Was it like, I've made it, I have to get this amazing suit from Savile Row? Did you have a lifestyle maybe previously that warranted more of these suits?
And how did
now
you feel in
yes.
them?
Listen, as a designer, when I was coming up in the world in my 30s, was predominantly in my 30s. When I was a 4, let's say, you know, or in Savile Row, I don't know what the hell that size is, but a small size, you know, and like worshiping at Manolo Blahniks, the ground he works on, and worshiping Hamish Bowles and worshiping these people who really, so you have to get in the game somehow and get involved in that, right? So you do it, and it feels a bit foreign, but it also feels so incredible. And then the thing that really kept me hooked on Savile Row is the way they make clothes. I'm not saying the way they fit clothes, but the way they make them.
The experience of going.
No, looking at the insides of the suit is so beyond, and the handwork. Really, there is something about the tailoring. I don't know if it exists. I have not had a suit made there in years, but there was something about the way they used to tailor clothes, and I was shocked. Like, you know, like someone who understands everything about tailoring and everything about every fucking thing in this world about how to make clothes. They were teaching me something. And that's what was addictive about it. You know, it's like, oh, what's that pocket? Oh my God, what's that button? What's that? You know, it's like, there was always like some surprise, you know, about the suit.
I don't know. It seems like you bought them to kind of tick a box or to fit to.
Well,
to
it's like
fill something.
inhabiting a world. And
Yeah.
we're all sort of
Yeah.
like dreaming of something, and fashion often kind of promises to deliver or it promises to deliver it. Maybe it doesn't always, right?
But I'll tell you one thing. I do remember this one night, darling, one night of my life when I actually felt extremely elegant and perfect. I really felt, and it was in this black suit from Anderson Shepherd. The socks were some insane thing that I bought in Italy made by nuns in some convent.
Yes.
Seriously.
Love.
And the shoe was John Loeb, a custom-made John Loeb shoe, and I felt thin enough, and my hair was freshly, everything was great. And I was going somewhere with Carrie Modine, who I used to be very good friends with. We used to go to parties, and for once in my life, I just felt, that was the one time in my life that I ever felt like truly elegant in that black suit from Savile Row.
And you still have. You'll
I
just
don't.
never-
I gave it away because I will never fit in that suit again. Are you kidding me? I actually gave it to my musical director, Ben Walzer, who actually is the same size as what I used to be when I was 30. And he fits in it. And I think he finally retired it after, you know. But
well,
I wore
on to
that
the
suit
next,
to death.
then, hopefully.
Yes, well, yes.
So our next buy is something that you always repeat. What is something that you always buy and you go back to and is indispensable to you?
Here's it is. You ready? I'm ready to answer that question. It is this giant shawl from Loro Piana in black cashmere, which is thick as butter with the blanket fringe, and it's massive. And I can't go on a trip in August without this. I mean, like, I don't care how hot it is outside. I have to have that blanket with me at all times. And through the winter, I have one in my car. I have one in my other car. I always keep them in the car because it's freezing or too cold or something, right? So I have one in each car. I have one in, Bridgehampton, and I have several in boxes just waiting to be used because I know they're going to stop making this shawl.
Why?
Because everybody stops making everything great. That's why, But anyway, so that's the thing that I keep, and I just buy them because I'm crazy, you know.
And they're to wrap, you know, they're
No,
on
they're
your
like,
bed.
they're
like, put them on
darling,
your
they're
shelf.
like, 6 feet long and like 2 feet wide. And they're so gorgeous and they look so beautiful. And I love them so much from Loro Piana. That's what I do.
And what do you think about this whole, we've gotten into such a trend in kind of modern day culture of these super expensive, super luxe, looks and items and things like that. Do you like buying? Is it really about each item for you? Is it about like what it?
I don't know. It's, like I have little patience for most things. I have little patience for most things. Like when I see a lot of design, it just turns me so off, And by the way, like I really love a lot of stuff that's going on in fashion right now. That person who does Loewe, I forgot his name. He is such a
Jonathan
genius.
Anderson.
Darling, that person is a genius. That last collection was one of the greatest things. I don't know enough about it. I swear, you know how I see like the finales of shows on like 3 people that I follow?
Yeah.
I swear to God. That's how I know what I'm looking at.
Have you divested a bit from fashion?
Yes, I think so. I think so. I have. It's such a hard business it's a hard business to stay in forever. I feel like, you have to kind of sell yourself a bill of goods to stay in it. Like, this is better than that. She's better than she is,
Yeah.
This one is out. This one's in. This one's out. Very, very hard. The clothes I make now for Macy's or QVC or whatever, they're just smart little T-shirts and cashmere sweaters and pull-on jeans. That's it. That's what I make. And that's what we work on. We work on that idea of value, And I think that's who I am, That's who I am. Look at me, right?
It's great.
And
Well,
it's
thank
uniform.
you.
It's signature. I want to talk to you about New York, because so much about when I think about you, I think about New York, and I think about you've just seen the evolution of style in New York in a way that very few people have, and it's so intimately. And I want you to talk about New York then and now, and the style changes and what you used to see, and if you think any of that essence and energies remained.
Yeah, and
again,
how? Yeah, and you take us from Midwood to
Jeez.
all the way.
I mean, it's a very hard thing to talk about because, again, it requires different levels of understanding. You know what I mean? Because when I was a kid growing up in New York, I took the train every day at the age of 13 and 14. I started taking the train every day to 46th Street to Performing Arts High School, which is like in the heart of the theater district, right in the middle of Times Square.
Right.
And when I was writing my memoir, I used the word squalid to describe this period in Times Square on the subway. And the editor, who's a little younger than me, she circled the word. She's like, "You sure you want to use this word?" And I was like, is there a more horrible word to use than squalid? Because if there is, that's the word I'm looking for,
Right.
And because it was horrible, but there was something so divine about it. I don't know what about the kind of squalor and the contrast of burnt out, crazy sort of locations that were just these bare lots, and then this gorgeous skyscraper, and then some like 19th century church, and then, it was just the greatest. When you go to Paris, it's mostly 19th century. It was planned in the 19th century. You have a few 18th and 17th century residences that are amazing, but mostly it was planned in the 19th century. We're still living there, the Eiffel Tower, blah, blah, right?
Yes.
Or you go to Rome and you can't walk 3 steps without seeing, something that's prehistoric,
Right.
But something about New York was always great in that it was a contrast of things, old things and new things, and things going down and things you loved going away. Like that's a big part of being a New Yorker, is living with the hell of losing something you
Yes.
love, Like, I don't know, like Balducci or something, or Jefferson Market, or any of those things that you just loved. And then the whole story about Jackie Kennedy saving Grand Central Station. Like, what a thing. Thank God, because that's really something good. And then I think she also saved Radio City Music Hall. Jackie Kennedy, what a woman, But anyway, the point is that I need a little decrepitude. I do, I do personally. As a New Yorker growing up, like you're saying, from Midwood, Brooklyn to 46th Street in New York City to wherever it was, there was always this little bit of decrepitude that reminds you of humanity, that reminds you of the past.
Right, you're alive.
Yeah. I had this one this one fisherman little, striped top with a boat neck from Paris that I got when I was in Paris the first time. And I wore that thing and it had ink stains on it and holes. And the more ridiculously, sort of depraved it was, the more I loved it. And the more I wore it as a badge,
Yeah. Things kind of get decrepit and
They
and
need
get
to.
worn
And
worn
they
in
age. They
and
age, darling. I was in
And it
Paris.
shows.
I was in Paris with a friend of mine recently, yesterday, and we had lunch and she said, darling, and she looked amazing. She's a woman who's nearly 80, right? And she's French, and she looked so great. And maybe she's had a little work. And I said, I feel so fat. And then she's like, don't do it. Do not do it. They look like rats. These people look like rats. She started screaming in the middle of this restaurant. It was really funny, but you can't do that. You have to accept age and accept experience and accept a little decrepitude.
It's character.
Yes.
What is your dream buy? Is there anything else you're longing to have as part of in your apartment closet? Like,
It sounds so silly, but you know what I really want?
tell us.
A Maybach.
Oh, I did not see that coming.
I did
You know
not
what?
see that one
No,
coming.
darling, can I just tell
I
you
was
something?
like, car. Okay.
One day, I used to do this reality show with Iman
Yes.
called The Fashion Show. This was years ago. And Missy Elliott was the guest judge, and she had a Maybach, darling. And I remember we had a big pause because there was a strike. They went on strike, and everybody else went to their dressing room. She went to her Maybach because it was so divine. Like, that is where Missy Elliott is going for another 2 or 3 hours to pass the time. And then I went in a Maybach, and it's just the best. I really want a Maybach.
I guess I should have assumed that it wouldn't be anything fashion because you have and have had anything you want, but a Maybach's a good one.
Yeah.
That's probably
Doesn't
the best
everybody
goodbye
kind of
we've
want a
had.
great car?
I mean,
Don't even ask for a private plane. Don't do it. Don't do it.
we're not doing
Don't do it. A Maybach. We'll start with the Maybach.
Okay.
I can truly say you are an original. You are one of a kind. No one else does it like you. And thank you so much for being a guest on the
my
Goodbye.
pleasure.
This
It
was such
really
a treat.
Yeah,
Me
this was
too.
such
Thank
a treat.
you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.